A very good morning. It's just past 8 this Monday morning and we're back again with another edition of Breakfast News. I am Anil Thomas. With me this morning is Nancy. Good morning, Nancy.
Good morning, Anil. How are you doing this morning?
Doing perfectly well. Lots to look forward to in the next 60 minutes. We'll get you all the action from the world of politics, business, international news, especially the US elections, also business and sports. Lots to look forward to in the next 60 minutes, especially when it comes to this particular week, US presidential election heating up, and also Bihar elections where the second and third phase of elections will take place. So lots to look forward to in the next 60 minutes on how things could pan out. And what else do we have?
Well, absolutely. Our focus is going to be on the US presidential elections 2020. It's a close context and till now, in fact, most fiercely contested elections really in the US. And of course, back home, like Anil mentioned, the next phase of Bihar elections that's up tomorrow. We'll get you all the updates on that. Apart from that, all that's happening in the world of business, sports and around the world as well. But first, a look at the headlines.
Union Finance Secretary Ajay says economic parameters in most of the sectors reached pre-COVID level. Pandemic is not over yet, but signs of recovery of economy are visible. Informs that government is working on another stimulus package.
In view of a sudden spike in COVID-19 cases in the national capital, Delhi, the Union Home Secretary to review the situation and the top officials of the Union Health Ministry and the Delhi government will attend that meeting.
Campaigning for second phase for 94 Bihar Assembly seats ends. Polling to be held tomorrow in 17 districts. A total of 1,463 candidates are in the fray.
Lok Sabha Speaker Om Birla participates in 206th session of the Governing Council of the Inter-Parliamentary Union. A total of 144 parliamentarians are participating in the session. The election of the new president of the IPU for the term 2020-23 is on the agenda.
A big win for security forces in Jammu and Kashmir. Hizbul Mujahideen's chief commander killed in an encounter in Srinagar. The joint operation by CRPF and Jammu and Kashmir police seized the arrest of one more terrorist from Rangret area of Srinagar.
In international news, the US presidential elections to be held tomorrow. More than 9 crore Americans have already cast their votes in the early elections. COVID-19 takes center stage in the campaigns of Donald Trump and Joe Biden.
Super Typhoon Goni slams into Philippines. This is the world's strongest storm so far this year, gaining further strength. Causes heavy floods in several Philippine provinces.
Well, we'll get you all the updates in the next 60 minutes. But first up, a look on the economy front. The Indian economy has in fact started showing green shoots of recovery in key sectors. And with the economy now again looking up from the shadows of the COVID-19 pandemic, the Union Finance Secretary has said that we are finally seeing the results of the remedial measures taken by to revive the economy. Listen in.
कोविड का जो इम्पैक्ट था अब वो धीरे धीरे कम हो रहा है. हम लोग प्री कोविड लेवल पर पहुंच रहे हैं और उसके बियॉन्ड भी जा रहे हैं. अगले 4-5 महीने अगर इसी तरह का अगर मोमेंटम रहा तो जैसा कि वित्त मंत्री ने कहा है, मार्च महीने तक अगर यही अगर गति जारी रही तो हमारा जो ग्रोथ है वो करीब करीब पिछले साल का जो जीरो नियर जीरो ग्रोथ तक हम लोग पहुंच सकते हैं. बट इसके लिए हमें लगातार प्रयास करना चाहिए.
And he also said that the government is continuously reviewed during the lockdown and work to provide much relief to the people of this country. Whether it's depositing money in the accounts of the women under the Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana, or getting the farmers their installment in advance, or even giving relief to the traders or employees under the MSP or the EPFO, the government has done all kind of relief work.
अप्रैल महीने में क्या जरूरत क्या थी? पूरा लॉकडाउन था, लोग अपने नौकरी पे जा नहीं पा रहे थे, जो डेली वेज जो कमा रहे थे, रोज जो दिन का जो जिनको मजदूरी मिलती थी वो कमा नहीं पा रहे थे। तो ये निर्णय ले लिया गया कि उनके हाथ में कुछ कैश देना चाहिए। तो प्रधानमंत्री जनधन योजना के तहत जो 20 करोड़ जो स्त्री जो बैंक धारक हैं उनके अकाउंट में पैसे भेजे गए। उसी तरीके से किसान योजना के तहत जो पैसे उनको भेजे जाने थे वो इंस्टॉलमेंट हमने जल्दी भेज दिए।
Well, in a robust proof of revival of economy, GST collections in October increased by 11% compared to last year. Other indicators also clearly point out a recovery in economic activities. Here's a report.
COVID-19 has adversely impacted the global economy. However, the pace at which economic activities have increased in India post-unlock clearly indicates that India's economy is coming back on track. Finance Ministry on Sunday said that gross GST revenue collection in the month of October reached 1,05,155 crore rupees. Not only that, GST collection has increased in most of the states. GST collection was crossing 1 lakh crore in February 2020 when coronavirus knocked at the door. But after that, economic activities got badly affected. As a result, GST revenue collection also decreased continuously. However, an increase in this revenue collection was noticed in September 2020 compared to the same month last year. And in October 2020, GST collection increased by 11% in comparison to the same period in 2019. As per the data provided by the Finance Ministry, 1,05,155 crore rupees of gross GST revenue has been collected in the month of October this year. Out of the gross GST revenue collected, CGST is 19,193 crore rupees. SGST is 25,411 crore rupees. IGST is 52,540 crore rupees and cess is 8,011 crore rupees. The total number of GSTR 3B returns filed for the month of October up to Saturday is 80 lakh. Besides the increase in GST collection, other indicators also hint that Indian economy is on the trajectory of recovery. Positive output is noticed in the 8 most fundamental industrial sectors of the Indian economy. As a result, there is an increase in electricity demand, steel production, coal production and other sectors. Over 5% increase was noticed in the export of goods in September. A gauge of activity across India's manufacturing sector jumped to highest level in over 8 years in September as manufacturers saw a sharp pickup in new orders. Purchasing Managers Index PMI increased from 52.0 in August to 56.8 in September. 50% increase was also noticed in the services sector. There was also increase in demand in rural India in September 2020. As a result, 75% increase was recorded in the sale of tractors. Moreover, passenger vehicles in the country were also in steep demand and purchased at large scale. DD India.
And our next focus is on the Bihar elections, the second phase of which will take place, in fact, tomorrow. All the updates from on the ground as far as the second phase of these elections is concerned, and that's tomorrow. Well, the second phase of Bihar elections will be held tomorrow, the 3rd November, the campaigning for which ended Sunday evening, and hectic campaigning was seen for the second and the third phases of the elections. Prime Minister Modi addressed 4 rallies on the day, even as the leaders of the opposition parties sought to shore up support for themselves. In the second phase, the elections will take place on 3rd November for 94 assembly seats in 17 districts of the state. A total of 1,463 candidates are in the fray. JDU has fielded 43 of its candidates in the second phase, while BJP is contesting on 46 seats in the second phase. And we'll now take a look at the major facts about the second phase of Bihar elections.
Well, for more on the election updates there from Ground Zero, our correspondent Salman Haider joining us with more updates there. Salman, good morning. Salman, looking at the way this particular second phase of election stands, what do you see? Are still the issues of unemployment still a matter of concern there as people get down to vote in the second phase in 94 seats?
Yes, the unemployment and migration is still great issues, two great issues on which all the parties, including NDA and the Mahagathbandhan, are trying to lure the voters, and they are commenting on each other's claims. For example, the Mahagathbandhan has claimed that on its first order it will give 10 lakh jobs to the youth, while the NDA is claiming that 19 lakh employment could be generated. So these are the things, the issues are there. As you can see behind me, the map where the seats going to poll, the 94 seats are marked in yellow color. These are the seats where the unemployment, migration, floods are major issues. So the parties, all the parties are pitching for it. Yes, Amit.
Right, Salman, of course, the electorate there, playing their role very responsibly, coming out in large numbers, and that's what we even saw in the first phase. And also, in fact, at the same time, playing a very responsible role as far as following and adhering to COVID-19 protocol is concerned. And when political parties are, politicizing various issues, the electorate has a very responsible role to play here. And they're very clear that development and good governance is top of their priority than anything else.
Yes, yes, of course. The electorate are playing very responsible role in these elections, but at times in public meetings it is seen that COVID precautions were not followed to the letter and in the letter and the spirit. But in general, when people vote, they come out in large number and follow COVID regulations, and we expect same in this phase also. Of these 8 seats in the 94 seats which are going to poll tomorrow, 8 seats are very sensitive from a law and order point of view, where polling will be held from 7 a.m. to 4 p.m. In rest of the seats, as you know, the poll time has been extended to 1 hour. That is from 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. Keeping in view the slow movement of voters due to COVID restrictions. So the movement is slow, but there is long queue always, as we saw in the first phase. The women turnout was more than the male voters. So these are the things. People are playing a very responsible and responsive role as far as the voting is concerned. Yes, Nancy.
Okay, also looking at the way, this COVID times and political parties and political leaders being forced to take digital or hold digital rallies, how easy or how difficult does it become for the people to, to relate when especially political leaders speak using, digital platforms?
Actually, this is new. As you know, this is new for Bihar folks or anywhere in the country had it been at any place. But people are responding very favorably in these things. Many grounds have been earmarked for earmarked for these rallies, this kind of rallies, where vans are put up and large LCD screens are placed there, and people are gathered in large number there also to listen to their leaders according to their party affiliations. So these are new things, but the people response is there.
All right. All right, Salman Haider, thanks very much for joining us for the moment and sharing all those inputs from the ground situation there in Bihar as far as the assembly elections are concerned. Let's now move on to our next focus.
Well, moving from Bihar to Madhya Pradesh, where by-polls will be held, from Bihar to Madhya Pradesh, where campaigning ended for the all-important by-elections for 28 seats. Results will decide the fate of Shivraj Singh-led BJP government in the state. BJP needs to win 9 seats out of the 28 to retain their government. BJP and the Congress have pulled out all the stops in the last phase of campaigning. The by-elections will be held on 28 seats on the 3rd of November. 355 candidates are in the fray, which includes 333 men and 22 women candidates. 27 seats out of the 28 seats were won by the Congress in 2018, while in 2013, Congress had won just 4 seats. Election Commission is leaving no stone unturned to ensure free and fair polls in the state, as well as ensuring all safety measures are kept in line with COVID-19 protocols.
And our next big focus now, the Union Home Secretary will today be reviewing the COVID-19 situation in the national capital Delhi, which has seen a sudden spike in the cases. Top officials of the Union Health Ministry and the Delhi government will attend the meeting. The review meeting is a part of the regular review of all the union territories on a rotational basis. And leading from the front, the Home Minister has ensured the increased testing facilities and more hospital beds for patients by setting up temporary hospitals and COVID-19 care centers. And let's go across now to our correspondent Sudhakar Das, who's joining us for more updates on that important review meeting as far as tackling COVID-19 pandemic is concerned. Sudhakar, that all-important meeting, going to be taking place today, and what important measures are going to be taken to keep COVID-19 pandemic in check in the national capital Delhi? That's going to be very important. Of course, the 5 T's are being followed, but perhaps more needs to be done.
देखिए, बहुत महत्वपूर्ण बैठक है निश्चित तौर पर, और रंजित सबसे पहले बता दूं, ये बैठक आज शाम को होनी है और कई लोग इसमें वीडियो कॉन्फ्रेंसिंग के जरिए जुड़ेंगे। कोरोना महामारी का समय है, लेकिन निश्चित तौर पर एक नियमित बैठक होने के बावजूद भी महत्वपूर्ण इसलिए है कि पिछले कुछ दिनों में दिल्ली में जो कोरोना के मामले बढ़े हैं, तो उस लिहाज से एक तरह से एक नई रणनीति की क्या जरूरत है, क्या नए बेड्स की जरूरत पड़ेगी, इन तमाम चीजों का आकलन करने की जरूर कोशिश होगी। इस बैठक में हमें बताया गया है कि जो साइंटिस्ट हैं, जो स्वास्थ्य विभाग के जुड़े अधिकारी हैं, तो एक प्रेजेंटेशन भी देंगे इसमें कि किस तरह से अभी की पूरी स्थिति है और क्या प्रोजेक्शन हो सकता है आने वाले, क्योंकि सर्दियों का समय है और साथ ही साथ एक तरह से अगले 2-3 महीने काफी महत्वपूर्ण रहने वाले हैं, तो एक तरह का क्या प्रोजेक्शन हो सकता है, तो उसके बारे में भी प्रेजेंटेशन के जरिए जानकारी देंगे। अभी भी सरकार का जोर, अगर केंद्र सरकार की बात की जाए तो जोर बहुत ज्यादा इस बात पर है कि टेस्टिंग की संख्या ज्यादा से ज्यादा लगातार बढ़ती रहे, उसके हिसाब से ट्रेसिंग और ट्रीटमेंट के भी इंतजाम और उपाय किए गए। आपने जानकारी दी और दिल्ली में हमने देखा भी कि चाहे सरदार पटेल कोविड केयर सेंटर हो, दुनिया का एक तरह का सबसे बड़ा कोविड केयर सेंटर, या फिर DRDO के सहयोग से जो अस्पताल बनाया गया, तो इस तरह के तमाम उपाय दिल्ली में किए गए और उसकी वजह से एक काफी प्रभावी असर भी पड़ा दिल्ली में। लेकिन बढ़ते मामले जरूर एक तरह से चिंता का विषय है, तो साथ ही साथ इस रिव्यू के जरिए, समीक्षा के जरिए कोई और अन्य कदम और अगर अर्जेंटली उठाने की जरूरत है तो उस तरफ भी ये उच्च स्तरीय बैठक में रणनीति बनाई जा सकती है।
Also, Sudhakar, looking at the way, the sudden spike of COVID-19 cases is due to the festivity and also rising pollution. There are more festivals round the corner. Is that more pressure there, especially on the Delhi government? And, considering that there has been, in the last 6 days, we have seen a regular hike of roughly around 5,000 cases and above.
देखिए, निश्चित तौर पर अनिल, क्योंकि सर्दियों का मौसम है और आपने सही कहा कि इस मौसम में रेस्पिरेटरी प्रॉब्लम, सांस से जुड़ी हुई परेशानियां बढ़ जाती हैं और सर्दियों की वजह से जुकाम, बुखार, इस तरह की तमाम चीजें आती हैं और उसमें अगर कोविड का एक तरह से मिक्सचर है तो उसकी वजह से स्थिति थोड़ी और मुश्किल हो सकती है। तो ऐसे में एक तरफ प्रधानमंत्री के निर्देश पर उन्होंने जो शुरुआत की थी कि लगातार इस बात पर जोर दिया जाए, जो जागरूकता के उपाय हैं उसको फैलाया जाए कि अभी स्थितियां पूरी तरह से नियंत्रण में नहीं है। एक तरह से कह सकते हैं बीमारी ये खत्म नहीं हुई है जब तक कोई वैक्सीन हमारे सामने नहीं है, तो उसको लगातार बनाए रखने की जरूरत है, सावधानियां बरतने की जरूरत है। तो दूसरी तरफ साथ ही साथ अगर इस तरह की चुनौती आती है, 5000 से ज्यादा मामले दिल्ली में अगर आते हैं, तो दिल्ली सरकार, केंद्र सरकार या फिर दिल्ली में हम जानते हैं कि एमसीडी का भी एक अहम रोल है। इस तरह की सारी एजेंसी मिलकर एक साथ एक मंच से काम करे और जो प्रभावी उपाय और किए जाने हैं। अभी हालांकि दिल्ली सरकार ये कह रही है कि बेड्स की अवेलेबिलिटी अभी है दिल्ली में, अभी 40-45% बेड ही ऑक्यूपाइड है, लेकिन फिर भी उपलब्धता को बनाए रखने के लिए या आने वाले समय में अगर कोई जरूरत पड़ती है तो उन जरूरतों का भी ध्यान रखना जरूरी है। तो इस बात पर जरूर केंद्र सरकार का जोर रहेगा कि अगर आने वाले समय में जरूरत कितनी है उसका ध्यान रखते हुए कोई और अन्य उपाय करने हैं तो उन उपायों की तरफ भी सोचा जाए। लेकिन निश्चित तौर पर यह निर्देश भी केंद्र की तरफ से रहेगा कि एग्रेसिव टेस्टिंग, ट्रेसिंग, इसको लगातार जारी रखना है, उस पर अभी भी फोकस बनाए रखना है।
Okay, we'll leave it there. Sudhakar, thank you and appreciate you joining us. You've got a busy day ahead covering that particular meeting there, and we'll wait for what are the decisions that are taken in that important meeting there with the Union Home Secretary. Well, staying with COVID-19, but now taking a look at across India. Besides few states, rest of India is witnessing encouraging signs of improvement in COVID-19 pandemic situation. While case fatality rate is constantly improving, positivity rate is also showing sharp decline.
India continues to report a trend of steadily declining active cases. For the third consecutive day, the active caseload in the country is below the 6 lakh mark. Presently, India's total active caseload is 5,70,458, which is only 6.97% of the total positive cases. India also continues to have one of the lowest cases per million globally. The country's average cases per million stand at 5,930. India's deaths per million population is also one of the lowest in the world and stand at 88. In US, this figure is 686, while Brazil has recorded 748 deaths per million. In Tamil Nadu, prohibitory orders under Section 144 banning assembly of more than 5 persons in public places in the wake of coronavirus pandemic has been extended in Greater Chennai police limits up to November 30th.
Moving on now, Lok Sabha Speaker Om Birla on Sunday participated in the opening session of the Inter-Parliamentary Union's Governing Council meeting. The Lok Sabha Speaker participated in the 206th session of the Governing Council of the Inter-Parliamentary Union. Om Birla is chairing the Indian delegation meeting, which is being held virtually from the 1st of November to the 4th. And the Lok Sabha MP Poonamben Himmatbai and Rajya Sabha MP Swapn Das Gupta also participated in the virtual session. A total of 144 of the parliamentarians are participating in the session. The main agenda of the virtual session pertains to the election of the new president of the IPU for the term 2022-23. Now, the process of the election to the post of the IPU president began yesterday. And the election is to be completed in a window of 24 hours. Each country has 3 votes in the presidency collegium, provided one delegate is a woman. The candidates from Portugal, Pakistan, Uzbekistan and Canada are contesting the elections to the post of the IPU president. The Governing Council is the main policy-making body of the IPU, which is inter alia mandated to elect the new president of the IPU.
Well, moving up now to Jammu and Kashmir, where a big win for the security forces in Jammu and Kashmir. Security forces on Sunday eliminated the chief operational commander of the militant group Hizbul Mujahideen, Saifullah, during an encounter in Rangareth area of Srinagar. Saifullah, alias Dr. Saifullah, one of the most wanted militants in the valley, was also involved in the killing of 3 BJP workers on October 29 in Kulgam.
पुलिस को इतला मिली थी कल रात में इस घर में साउथ कश्मीर से एचएम का कमांडर डॉक्टर जिसको सैफुल्लाह बोलते हैं आया हुआ है। उसके बाद पुलिस सीआरपी आके कॉर्डन करते ही फायरिंग शुरू हो गया। बाद में आर्मी भी ज्वाइन कर ली। इनकाउंटर में एक टेररिस्ट मारा गया। हमारे सोर्स के हिसाब से ये लगभग 95% डॉक्टर सैफुल्लाह ही है। अभी बॉडी हम लोग बाहर निकाले हैं, उनके फैमिली को मिला के दिखा देंगे और आइडेंटिफाई हो जाएगा और बता देंगे आप लोगों को। आप ये मानिए कि एचएम का चीफ कमांडर है डॉक्टर रियाज नाकी के बाद, जो मरने के बाद जो रियाज नाकी जो मारा गया था मई में, उसके बाद ये पोस्ट लिया था एचएम चीफ का। ये पुलिस सेफ्टी फोर्सेस की बहुत बड़ी कामयाबी की बात है।
And in some other news now, India has firmly rejected the attempt by Pakistan to bring material changes to a part of the Indian territory under its illegal and forcible occupation. The External Affairs Ministry has reiterated that the Union territories of Jammu and Kashmir and Ladakh, including the area of so-called Gilgit-Baltistan, are an integral part of India by virtue of the legal, complete and irrevocable accession of Jammu and Kashmir to the Union of India in 1947. The government of Pakistan has no locus standi on the territories illegally and forcibly occupied by it. Now, such attempts by Pakistan intended to camouflage its illegal occupation cannot hide the grave human rights violations, exploitation and the denial of freedom for over 7 decades to the people residing in these Pakistan-occupied territories. And instead of seeking to alter the status of these Indian territories, India has called upon Pakistan to immediately vacate all the areas under its illegal occupation.
Okay. Well, lots of stories to look forward to there, especially from India. Now we'll have to shift focus. Nancy,
yes, absolutely.
What's the story that caught your eye amongst the stories that we read?
Well, in fact, the one that I just read, it's a very important one. India, they're formally rejecting, Pakistan's comments as far as bringing any material changes to the Indian territory is concerned. And of course, the important meeting that's going to be taking place today as far as tackling COVID-19 pandemic is concerned. While we've done a great job, we would really say, but perhaps more needs to be done as far as we are seeing the spike in cases. And of course, the upcoming festive and the winter season approaching is concerned. We need to see, we'll all be waiting, in fact, what measures and what decisions will be taken in that very important review meeting by the Union Home Secretary this evening.
Well, now shifting focus, let's now move across to our next section that's called News from Around the Globe.
All right, and our big focus, the big international focus that will continue here on DD India, all eyes on the US presidential elections 2020.
Well, race for the White House heating up with less than 48 hours remaining for the general election in the United States to elect the new president. Both the contenders, incumbent President Trump and his Democratic challenger Joe Biden, are leaving no stone unturned to attract the attention of the voters. Most significant is the unprecedented early vote, which has already touched the record number of 91 million. On campaign trail, both the contenders are focusing their campaigns in the prominent swing states. While Trump is focusing his campaign in Michigan and Iowa, Biden is holding rallies in Pennsylvania.
And the Republican president had a punishing schedule on Sunday, holding outdoor rallies in Iowa and Michigan before planned trips to North Carolina, Georgia and Florida, while states where polls suggest a tighter race. Now, speaking in Washington, a town there in Michigan north of Detroit, Trump has told his supporters that under his leadership, the economy is now growing at the fastest rate ever recorded. At a later rally in Iowa, joined by high-profile supporters like his daughter Ivanka Trump and aide Hope Hicks, President Trump promised secure borders and more conservative judges in the courts. Listen in.
For Iowa farmers and ranchers in Japan, the EU, South Korea, and all over the world. We surged exports with the new USMCA. We got rid of your horrible, terrible, worst trade deal ever made. Everyone said that would be impossible to do. We got it done. We got a lot done. We got a lot done.
The Democratic challenger and former Vice President Joe Biden, meanwhile, had headed to Pennsylvania, the place of his birth and another key state in the elections. Biden underscored the importance of Pennsylvania in Tuesday's elections. Now, at a rally in Philadelphia, Biden addressed on systemic racism in the U.S. He attacked the president's handling of the COVID-19 pandemic, something which has disproportionately affected the African Americans. Biden also quoted Latino voters with a tweet in Spanish, speaking of the separation of the migrant families at the border and his response to Hurricane Maria after it hit Puerto Rico.
We have a circumstance where in the South we find ourselves with more hurricanes, more vicious hurricanes. When the president was told that's because the waters of the Atlantic are opening up, are warming up, you know what he said? Well, maybe we could stop it by dropping some atomic bombs on them. Oh, by the way, this is the same guy. You'll appreciate this being from Philly. The same guy who said the problem we had in the Revolutionary War is we didn't have enough airports.
Well, Super Typhoon Goni brought intense rains and heavy flooding in several provinces in the southern part of the Philippines' main island of Luzon on Sunday. Over 1 million people in the typhoon's projected path have been evacuated, including in the capital, where the international airport is now closed. This is the 18th typhoon to hit the country this year. Goni is the world's strongest storm so far this year, with winds reaching up to 225 kilometers per hour and gusts of up to 310 kilometers per hour as it continues to cross the main island. Between 19 million and 31 million people could be affected, according to the Disaster Management Agency. Goni is among the strongest typhoons to hit the Philippines since Haiyan, which killed more than 6,300 people in 2013.
And let's now take an update on COVID-19 pandemic from across the world. As of now, more than 4.68 lakh COVID-19 people have contracted the virus worldwide, and over 12,05,000 have succumbed to the virus so far. Over 3.37 lakh people have also recovered from the virus. The US still continues to top the list among the worst hit countries by the pandemic, with the highest number of infections. The US has over 94,72,000 cases of COVID-19, with a death toll surging past 2,36,000.
Muslim pilgrims flew into Saudi Arabia on Sunday to perform the Umrah pilgrimage as the kingdom started to relax measures it had taken to curb the spread of COVID-19. Planes carrying about 400 worshippers from Pakistan and Indonesia landed at the King Abdulaziz International Airport, where they were subjected to mandatory COVID-19 health checks. Under new measures, international pilgrims only between the age of 18 and 50 can take part in the ritual, and the number of Umrah performers per day will be capped at 20,000. International arrivals have to quarantine for 3 days before entering the Grand Mosque in Mecca. Saudi Arabia closed its borders in February to foreign Umrah pilgrims. In July, it allowed a limited number of domestic pilgrims to perform the Hajj. Umrah is a pilgrimage which can be undertaken at any time of the year, in contrast to Hajj, which has specific dates according to the Islamic lunar calendar. Saudi Arabia has reported more than 3,47,000 cases of COVID-19 and over 5,400 deaths.
And in more international updates now, the protesters in Belarus faced repression on Sunday as security forces reportedly fired the warning shots to stop demonstrators from gathering. It was the 13th Sunday in a row that anti-government protesters gathered since Belarusian President Alexander Lukashenko won a contested election. The opposition has rejected the outcome as fraudulent and considers its leaders, Svetlana, to be the actual winner of the vote. Now, this week, Lukashenko partially closed the border to the west and replaced his interior minister, and said that any protester who lays a hand on officers policing the protest should at least leave without hands. Belarus protesters are now facing crackdown.
Egypt announced on Sunday the official results of the first round of parliamentary elections, with the turnout reaching 28.6% of the total voters. Over 9 million voters in 14 governorates participated in the election. A second round will take place on November 7th and 8th. Runoffs will take place in late November and early December. The Election Commission rejected all complaints filed by candidates concerning vote counts. The polls are being held with a new electoral law under which 50% of the 568 contested seats will be allocated to pre-selected lists that take all the seats in an electoral area if they win a majority of votes. Opposition politicians say that lists led by the pro-government parties are tightly vetted and hard to compete with. The remaining contested seats will be allocated to individual candidates, and President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi can appoint up to 28 legislators directly.
Well, in fact, we'll get you all the news from the World Wide Web. But before we, in fact, go to that segment, we would like to, in fact, focus once again on the US presidential elections 2020 that will take place tomorrow. Well, that would be evening India time. And in fact, like we've been focusing how really this is one of the fiercely contested elections, really. And, you know, with the numbers being the number of voters, you know, casting their votes in the early ballots also, Anil, this could be very well the highest participation that the US elections will see. The contest they are being played out between Joe Biden and the incumbent President Trump, and now with less than 48 hours remaining really for the US presidential elections. Both the contenders now are in fact leaving no stone unturned to attract the attention of the voters, and will also be in fact covering each and every aspect of these elections and all the analysis as well that comes with it, the key states that we are also going to be focusing on.
Well, that's exactly the issue here in the key states. You know, the way things are happening, both the leaders, both the presidential candidates, they're making a last-ditch effort to attract the voters there. Biden himself touching his home base there, Pennsylvania, trying to once again, there seems to be some kind of, you know, unrest when you look at a particular candidate when he hits his home state and tries to campaign there once again. That's generally the feeling, or that's generally what critics are talking about, especially when it comes to Biden. But it's a close race. Absolutely. Remember, in 2016 there was a surprise in store for us. Will 2020 throw again similar surprises, or will we go with what the polls indicate on the hot favorite candidate?
And you know, with both the round of debates that have happened between Biden and Trump, while both have tried to in fact strike a chord there with the voters, well, remains to be seen who really handled those important issues concerning economy, concerning health, concerning you know, of course, the migrant, the separation issue. Which leader has really struck that chord with the voters? Well, that remains to be seen. We'll soon have those results. In fact, you know, when these elections take place tomorrow in the US, and all our coverage will be here, very in fact focused and detailed coverage here on DD India as far as US elections, US presidential elections 2020 is concerned.
Well, it's going to be a close battle there between the two, Joe Biden versus Donald Trump, who will have the last laugh in this elections. Is it going to be red again, or are people going to vote for change and people going to go with blue? That's Joe Biden. We'll wait and watch. We'll get you all the updates. The pandemic will be the big talking point and will also be the big focus on which the voters will be looking at, on who handles that particular issue better. But we'll get you all the details as the election takes place. Voting still on, but election taking place tomorrow, and the election results, we'll getting you all the updates and non-stop coverage on that US presidential elections. But let's now shift focus and take a look at all the happening events, especially in social media as well as in the World Wide Web, in our next segment that's taking a look at Web News Review.
And let's go across now to our colleague Preeti, who's going to be presenting all the news from the World Wide Web. Good morning, Preeti. What do you have for us this morning?
Good morning, Nancy. Good morning, Anil, and good morning to all our viewers. When we talk of the top stories or the top headlines which have been published in the social media or the web portals, we'll talk first of the Hindustan Times news report, which talks of how the COVID-19 active cases have continuously been falling, and at present the active cases stand at 5 lakh 70,458, which means this is just 6.97% of the total cases. Also, this is with regard to the approach which has been put forth by the government when we talk of the test, track and treat strategy. Added to that, awareness of the people, and also elaborate and efficient measures which have been put in by the administration to ensure that people stay aware are bearing fruits. And also on our parts, also on DD India and DD News, we've been running the Mask Up India campaign, and we have been urging our voters to be part of the Mask Up India. And it's just a simple task. Wear a mask is what we're urging people to do, and wearing a mask properly is the crux here. So this is about the Hindustan Times report, which says that we are doing good when we talk of the fight against COVID-19 as compared to other countries as well on the global page. The next headline I pick up is from the Economic Times. The Economic Times talks of how the freight earnings of railways has increased, and the load in fact has increased to 15%. Now this also comes with this we should be reminded of the COVID-19 times, and added to that the way railways has increased its freight earnings. And when we talk of loading, for the month of October, it has grown to 15% as compared to the last year. And the Indian Railways, the loading, when we talk of the statistical data, 108.16 billion tons was what was loaded by the Indian Railways during the month of October. With that, the third headline I pick up is coming in from the Hindustan Times again. The Hindustan Times talks of how since it is the festive season which is in progress, and because of that the diesel demand has gone up, and this is the record which has been witnessed in the last 8 months. And again, this would I would ask you to refer to the COVID-19 times. And after that, now that the with demand picking up in the festive season, the demand for diesel has also picked up. And when we talk of the statistical data again, in October, 5.76 million tons of diesel had been sold. The sale figures were 5.76 million tons. And also when we talk of Indian Oil Corporation, it has been boosting its rates to 93% capacity, and it also hopes that in the next couple of months it will reach 100% capacity. So that was it, what has been reported by the Hindustan Times. Talking of the festival season, the diesel sale has increased in the country. With that, the next headline I pick up is coming in from the Indian Express. It says BCI has allowed law universities to conduct physical examination. A couple of days back, we saw that happen for the medical students, and now the Bar Council of India has allowed the physical examination to be conducted as per the way the examinations will be conducted by the law universities. Still, the law universities will have the option of carrying out the examination online, and also the BCI has given the permission that the students who are not able to clear the examination during this time will also be given another chance once the universities open. But given the way things are unfolding when we talk of COVID-19, because still it is not safe to for these schools or for the universities to conduct courses and classes regularly. So BCCI has allowed online tests as well, online examination as well, and also physical examination. The last story I pick up is the LPG cylinder home delivery rules, which have been changed since 1st of November. When we talk of that, then the DAC, that is Delivery Authentication Code, will be given to the customers who are registered with the companies to prevent the theft of LPG cylinders. Now on your screens, you see the details of the story. However, this will not be applicable to commercial LPG cylinders. The companies will give the DAC to the customers, and when the delivery person comes to hand over these LPG cylinders, then that code has to be given to the delivery guy, to the delivery person for authentication. Without this code, the LPG cylinder will not be delivered. And this has been brought into effect from 1st of November. And in the beginning, 100 smart cities, this pilot project will be applied on 100 smart cities. So with that, more or less, those were the headlines which I picked up from the web review. It's back to you, Anil and Nancy, for the rest.
Well, thank you, Preeti, for bringing us those updates. A refreshing change there, especially when it comes to web review.
All right. Thanks, Preeti, very much. Let's move on now to our next segment. That's the sports track. And
well, the Board of Control for Cricket in India on Sunday announced Jio as the title sponsor of the 2020 edition of the Women's T20 Challenge. The partnership will also have the support of Reliance Foundation Education and Sports for All. This is a historic partnership as for the first time a sponsor has been signed with BCCI exclusively for the women's matches.
And after sports news now, time now to move on to our next segment, the health story of the day. And today we are focusing on aging and eye problem, while middle-aged adults begin to notice slight changes in their vision which can progress over time. Let's take a look at this report to know more about vision problems that can occur with the growing age and what you can do to prevent it.
As the age increases, most people are concerned about the problems affecting their eyes. People with diseases like diabetes or hypertension need to be extra cautious because they have increased risk of eye problems.
As you approach 40 years, there are high chances of many diseases which can affect your eyes. It depends on whether you have any systemic conditions like diabetes or hypertension, which may have an effect on retina. There can be sudden visual loss due to blood on the retina. Also, there are other diseases like cataract and glaucoma. Cataract usually causes gradual loss of vision, while in glaucoma it may cause a sudden loss as well as a gradual loss of vision. There is also an upcoming disease which is called age-related macular degeneration, which in advanced stages can cause blood on retina and can cause sudden loss of vision. If you have any sudden or gradual loss of vision, it may be for near or distance, or if there is any associated redness, pain in eye, severe watering, then it is always appropriate that you should consult an eye specialist.
It is important to identify the eye problems and get timely treatment. Ignoring the symptoms can affect the eyesight of the person.
After 40 years of age, usually the visual status of the patient is determined. Routine intraocular pressures are measured. Like there is a blood pressure in the body, similarly we have a pressure in the eye. So this is determined in the eye. This is an indicator of glaucoma. Then if there are any associated complaints like diabetes and hypertension, a routine retinal examination is done to rule out any changes which these diseases may have on the retina. If the patient is at high risk, it depends on the stage of the disease and whether these diseases have affected the retina. If it is an advanced stage, we may call the patient as frequently as 1 month or 3 months, but if it is not there as of now, but it has a tendency to develop in the coming years, we may be satisfied with annual examination.
Regular eye checkup may help in early detection of eye problem and prevent blindness.
Take care of your eyes to prevent vision problems and go for regular eye checkups after the age of 40, as this will help in early detection of eye problems. Kiran Bhardwaj, Daily News.
Well, after a look at that health story, it's time now to go take a jog down memory lane and take a look at all the important events that took place in history on this very day, November 2nd.
On this day in 1883, Dayanand Saraswati, founder of the Arya Samaj, passed away. He was a profound scholar of Vedic lore and Sanskrit language. Dayanand Saraswati was the first to give the call for Swaraj as India for India in 1876, a call later taken up by Lokmanya Tilak. This day in the year 1887, an icon of modern Indian children's literature, Sukumar Ray, was born. Satyajit Ray's father, Sukumar Ray, was a master illustrator and powerful satirist in Bengali literature, whose works including Abol Tabol and Haya Varala showcased India's pioneering works in illustration, printmaking and satirical poetry. On this day in 1909, Homi Jahangir Bhabha, known as father of Indian nuclear program, an Indian nuclear physicist and a professor of physics at Tata Institute of Fundamental Research, was born in Mumbai. Bhabha was also the founding director of the Atomic Energy Establishment Bombay, which is now named as Bhabha Atomic Research Center in his honor. This day in the year 1961, the Soviet Union tested a hydrogen bomb, the Tsar Bomba, with a force estimated at about 50 megatons. This was the largest explosion ever recorded and broke a 3-year nuclear test moratorium.
Well, moving to the next story, Union Minister of State for Education Sanjay Dhotre on Sunday launched a self-help website developed by IIT Bombay and its alumni to enhance emotional well-being of students. The website is supported by the alumni of the class of 1992.
In order to ease pressure from students' mind, IIT Bombay launched a self-help website to enhance the emotional well-being of its students. Minister of State for Education Sanjay Dhotre launched a self-help website Bandhu for students of IIT Bombay. The website is supported by the alumni of class of 1992. Eminent filmmaker Nitesh Tiwari, who is also an IIT Bombay alumni, was the guest of honor. Speaking on this occasion, the minister said that Bandhu initiative will help our students to travel on their respective chosen paths in a stress-free manner, ensuring the emotional well-being. He further said that National Education Policy 2020 says that in every educational institution there shall be counseling systems for handling stress and emotional adjustments. The website Bandhu has been designed in conjunction with the counselors at IIT Bombay along with external experts with support from Professor T. Kundu and Professor Suhas Joshi. It addresses challenges ranging from adjustment to college life, academic stress and mental health. Bandhu has curated reads, motivational alumni journeys, expert podcasts and tools for self-exploration. While addressing the launch, Nitesh Tiwari said that there is a lot of pressure on students' mind, but everyone has to find a way to cope up with it. He said, instead of thinking about results, students should give their best because there are brilliant minds in IIT classroom. Project Bandhu was initiated by alumni of the class of 1992 as a part of their Silver Jubilee reunion in 2017. They pledged to support IIT Bombay and help students enhance their emotional well-being. The self-help website is one of the first steps in this direction. Shishir Shellar's report, DD News, Mumbai.
And with that, let's move on now. Take a look at the weather for today.
Well, a low pressure area lying over the northeast and adjoining east central Bay of Bengal and associated cyclonic circulation extending up to mid-tropospheric levels. This system is likely to move towards Bangladesh coast during the next 24 hours. A trough running from the cyclonic circulation associated with this low pressure area to Bangladesh in lower tropospheric levels. What does this mean? Fairly widespread to widespread rainfall activity very likely over Nagaland, Manipur, Mizoram, Tripura, Meghalaya. Scattered rainfall activity over Assam during the next 24 hours. Isolated heavy rainfall with moderate thunderstorm and lightning over Nagaland, Manipur, Mizoram and Tripura during the next 24 hours. Generally, dry weather very likely over most parts of northwest, west, central and east India during the next 2 to 3 days. Thunderstorm with lightning also very likely over places in Andhra Pradesh, in Tamil Nadu, Puducherry and Karaikal. Well, let's now take a look at the temperatures in your city. Well, that's all we have time for in this edition of Breakfast News. But before we leave, we've got a campaign that is running for you. That's called Mask Up India, where we are requesting our viewers of DD India to always wear a mask while you step out of your house. So this particular campaign continues, where we are urging at the end of the show, where we are urging our viewers and also all those people watching across the globe to always wear a mask while you step out of your house, because this is considered to be a shield that could protect us in the fight against COVID-19. So do not forget, while you step out, to wear a mask.
Absolutely, and in fact do spread that message when whoever and whenever you meet someone, and in fact if they're not even wearing masks properly, please do not hesitate to tell them the proper way to wear it. And so, well, it's a simple task. Do wear your mask whenever you go out, or whenever in fact you're meeting someone. Well, we are doing that before we wind up and before we end the breakfast show. We are both going to do it and going to be wearing a mask as we step out of the studio. But before we go, we are leaving you with the glimpses of London's Saatchi Gallery, which is holding a private viewing of a pop art exhibition of robots and humans. So remote controlled robots on wheels with cameras and a tablet screen are on offer for those who cannot attend the art show in person. Take a look at those visuals, and we wish you a great day ahead. Take care of yourself, be good, be safe, and do not forget to wear your mask. Thanks for being with us.